The NFL preseason can be a launching pad for many players. Obviously, we hear all the stories about training camp, about how good they're doing. The coaches are talking them up, all that good stuff. But the NFL preseason gives us an actual look at what the season's going to look like, whether that is a player in a new scheme like Caleb Williams playing for Ben Johnson, or it's a player like JJ McCarthy who has a lot to prove, finally getting an opportunity to showcase himself after missing last season, or it's some unknown late round flyer rookies that we need to see. All in all, the preseason is a great opportunity to find out what players are going to make a significant impact during the NFL season. And in this video, we are going to break down all the storylines you need to know heading into the first week of the preseason and potentially find some of those fantasy football sleepers. Let's hop right into this video right now. What's going on, everybody? My name is Ryan Linkletter, aka Blitz Link on socials, and today we are back with the preseason week one guide. Everything you need to know, players you need to know to make sure that you're not just watching preseason because you love ball, you're watching it to significantly increase your draft and have a great draft beating your league mates. So let's get right into it. And we're going to start with the players because those guys are the most important, and it's the rookies fighting for playing time. No, I'm not going to mention guys like Travis Hunter, Ashton Genty, even a name like Deontay Thornton that I know are, in the first team right now in their starting lineups and don't necessarily need to prove to me on the field in the preseason that they can make a significant impact. The depth chart already tells me they're in for line for playing time. I'm talking about players that are fighting for their lives to get on the field, and that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with Bill, Jacory croscey-Merritt from the Washington Commanders, maybe one of the hottest names out of the training camp world right now. You've seen clips of him. You've seen basically everything telling you this is the second coming of Adrian Peterson during camp, and now we finally have the chance to see it in person. Obviously, the Commanders' backfield is a bit murky. Brian Robinson Jr. hasn't necessarily proved to be the most efficient and effective back long-term for the Commanders. Austin Eckler is getting up there in age, and we know that Bill can easily slot into this lineup if he is an explosive playmaker in the backfield. At New Mexico in 2023, he had 1,190 yards and 17 touchdowns, and he had an MVP performance at the Shrine Bowl with 2 touchdowns as well. Obviously, no production really last season at Arizona, but he has really good production in the past in college, and he tested well in the combine. The Commanders picked him up late in the draft and gave him a shot, and he's shown out in training camp. I'm interested to see how he's going to fit in the system, and a good preseason performance or two could really carve out a role in this Washington Commanders offense that'll be intriguing to watch with him in there. The next player, Brashard Smith for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's another 7th-round guy who's a converted wide receiver from Miami, went to running back last year at SMU, and he just balled out. 1,300 rushing yards, 14 touchdowns, runs a 4.39. Listen, you have everything you're looking for if you're Andy Reid in this type of a player. He's a Dexter McCluster type where he can play running back or receiver. The Chiefs have been lining him up in the slot during training camp, and there are a lot of good reports about his versatility. Now, the real question is, how much is he actually going to play this year? The Chiefs added Elijah Mitchell and already have a backfield of Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. So the backfield isn't necessarily super easy to crack, but it's a lot of guys who haven't necessarily played elite level football, to where if Brashard Smith showcases maybe a Jerick McKinnon style role, he will be really productive in Kansas City. So I'm interested to see if a really solid preseason for him showcases his abilities and Andy Reid utilizes him more to start the season instead of waiting at the end and he potentially carves out a smaller role. Pat Bryant's the next player, and we've only heard good things about Pat Bryant come from this coaching staff. Sean Payton basically calls him the second coming of Michael Thomas, which is exactly what you want to hear from his former coach. He has strong route running, his good hands, and the physicality of his build is definitely really good. He played at U of I, had 984 yards and 10 touchdowns, and with the Denver Broncos wide receiver 2 job being up for grabs, why can't Pat Bryant take that role and provide a solid player next to Cortland Sutton, and then Marvin Mims being more of that home run type of hitter, design screen type player in that offense? I think Pat Bryant has the talent to do it. Now let's see in the preseason against some worse competition, can he do it outside of being part of that Denver Broncos starting offense and proving his way that he can play in this team? So Torrey Horton's our next guy for the Seahawks. Horton's coming off the back-to-back 1,100-yard seasons at Colorado State, and he also ran a really good time at the Combine. He's coming off a 5th-round pick, and I'm having another voice crack here, and he's fighting for that wide receiver role in an offense that has Cooper Kupp, JSN. They signed MV Best, and they have Eskridge still there coming back as well. but I'm not worried about anybody outside of JSN. We know JSN played the most slot snaps last year. I expect Clinton Kubiak to move him around a little bit, but he should still operate as a primary slot guy. That's where Horton comes in, and he could be really solid on the outside for this team with his solid speed. And, a lot of other guys in Seattle not having career years over the last few seasons. I think that's where he can find his way from those training camp clips into the starting lineup, and that would make him an intriguing player to watch as training camp goes on with the way Sam Darnold played last year. Woody Marks is our next player, and this is a popular name post Joe Mixon injury. Now, Joe Mixon has that foot injury. He's older. Don't really know what his timeline is going to be like. So I think Marks, who's coming off an 1,100-yard season and 47 receptions at USC, is just a natural fit on third downs for this team. Nick Chubb has had a lengthy injury history as well. So even if Mixon misses time, Woody Marks is going to have playing time in this offense, whether it is on third down or he works in early downs with Nick Chubb. Whatever it is, he's going to have a role. Now, let's say he has a baller preseason. He might even overtake Nick Chubb in this offense and have a significant role, which is awesome to see. I think Woody Marks is a name we need to keep talking about because his value is only going to go up with a solid performance in the preseason. Alec Ayomanor is our next guy for the Tennessee Titans. He's a bigger type receiver. He's 6'2", and he also runs a very good 40 at a 4.4. Now, the Tennessee Titans receiver room is full of veterans. We know Calvin Ridley, Tyler Lockett are going to play, but Alec has a legit chance of carving out maybe the best chemistry with Cam Ward in this offense long term. And both of them came in as rookies. Alec is coming off of a really solid season at Washington State, and I think that he's a bit underrated where they got him. If he shows out in the preseason, he easily has a chance to crack a very weak wide receiver room, which is nice to hear. The next player that everybody wants to talk about, Kyle Williams, the actual guy from Washington State. He ran a 4.4, and he's an absolute baller. He had 14 touchdowns there. The Patriots got him at the 69th overall pick. He's going to be competing for outside snaps with players like Kendrick Bourne, Mac Hollins, those type of guys instead of Stephon Diggs and Demario Douglas, who have the slot and the wide receiver outside or X position lined up. Which is good for them. But Kyle Williams is fighting for a role with a bunch of veterans. If he goes and balls out in the preseason, he might actually live up to expectations. If he doesn't have necessarily a super loud preseason, I am not drafting him in any of my drafts. I don't think the playing time is going to be there for him right away, and it's not worth a draft pick with some other names available. And then the final player is Jayden Blue. Jayden Blue's coming out of Texas, ran a 4.38, and he's starting to get first-team reps in this Dallas Cowboys offense. He's competing with Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, and I think that both those guys who haven't necessarily showed out in the last 2 years, Blue can overtake them with a really solid start to this preseason. He has speed and agility, and he has third down potential that make him a very intriguing option in this Dallas Cowboys offense that I think provides more upside than the Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders options. So those are all the rookies that I'm watching. As far as like the storylines go, we have the Colts quarterback battle. Now the Colts are going to be rolling out Anthony Richardson as their starter in week 1, and then Daniel Jones their starter in week 2, with both players alternating basically who is going to be the guy. Now both of them have had good stories in training camp. Both of them had smaller negative reports to start, but the big thing with AR is all the reports about his footwork. Here's a guy that we only hear about, oh man, Anthony Richardson's footwork's improved. How much has it improved? Is this going to make him a guy that jumps from a 50% completion to maybe a 62, 64% completion guy? That would be a huge step for him, especially with his rushing upside. Daniel Jones, we know the stability he provides. Can he provide a higher floor for this Indianapolis Colts team on a consistent basis to where, they're competing for playoff spots, and that's where they need to be with Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen's jobs kind of hanging by a balance at this point. So the preseason is going to be a great chance to see how both these guys look. Obviously, they're not going to be playing first teams, but it's going to be a great way to see if Anthony Richardson's accuracy problems are fixed and whether or not Daniel Jones will be a better fit for this offense in 2025. If Jones is announced the starter, I'm a little bit higher on Colts pass catchers, and I'm going to be targeting Josh Downs and Michael Pittman where I can. I think Tyler Warren's an even better option too if Jones announced the starter. If Richardson is announced a starter, he will be a better option later in drafts himself as a good quarterback pickup that is really undervalued right now. So it's all a wait and see. I think both of them are going to be providing different value for their teams. As far as the new schemes go, we have 3 different teams I'm taking a look at. It's the Raiders, Bears, and the Jaguars. All 3 teams enter a new era in their offense. We know the Raiders picked up Chip Kelly, and they're going to be having a ton of talent. You had Geno Smith, you had Ashton Genty, and then we have the new playmaker Deontay Thornton slotted in their starting lineup. I'm interested to see when these guys play together in the preseason, what they look like, and what the early game script looked like for this Chip Kelly offense that runs a lot more on tempo, which Geno Smith hasn't necessarily done in his NFL career. The Bears is an intriguing one with Ben Johnson's scheme, and everybody's hyped up about this one, but I'm interested to see, is Caleb Williams ready to run this offense? Now, Caleb Williams has to be able to execute the game script well, or I'm going to feel a little bit uneasy about the consistency of this Bears offense in fantasy football heading into this year. So I'm interested to see Caleb Williams in a game script. What is he going to look like? Is he going to feel comfortable in what Ben Johnson wants to do? And can he execute it at a high level without freaking out? And that's exactly what I want to see from Caleb Williams coming off of last year. Jacksonville is the last team here. We know Liam Cohen's coming in after having a career year for Baker Mayfield. He has an elite group of weapons in Brian Thomas Jr. You get Travis Hunter in there. And then you have a backfield mix of Bigsby, ETN, Bachel Tootin. I'm interested to watch all these running backs work and which ones excel, leading to a bigger role within this offense. And I'm also interested to see how Trevor Lawrence looks with that game script as well. Finally, we have J.J. McCarthy as well, who gets back in the starting lineup after missing a whole year due to injury. Now, last preseason, he was really good, 11 of 17, 188 yards and 2 touchdowns, which was very, very nice to see, but then he missed the whole entire. The Vikings have one of the best offensive lines in football, and they also have an elite group of weapons. So if J.J. McCarthy looks comfortable, he looks good with what he's getting called in the preseason, I have no doubts this Vikings offense will be a top 10 unit in the NFL in 2025. And then the final storyline is the Kansas City Chiefs. Josh Simmons has been getting a ton of attraction from and buzz from Chiefs camp, maybe the most hyped up rookie offensive lineman we've seen in a little bit. He's going to be going against the Cardinals starters. I think if the Chiefs figure out this tackle situation, this offense will return to its glory days, and I think Patrick Mahomes in the offense could be in for a really big year. Those are all the preseason headlines I'm taking a look at week one. If I missed one, let me know down in the comment section below. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button for more Blitz fantasy football content, and I will catch you guys next time.